What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined by Rachel Mogan.
I'm sorry, I can't introduce myself. I'm on Twitter, bro.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Why not?
Leave me alone.
Why can't you
I'm
introduce
busy with the tweeting.
That's true. It's
Yeah.
an important job.
Somebody
has to do it. Somebody has to keep the Twitter machine going.
Somebody has to be on Twitter.
But, you know, it's fine because I'm sure you're looking up all the news and the latest information about video games.
Yeah.
What we love to talk about here at Team Chat Podcast, because we're a weekly show where we talk about video games, the ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. New episodes come out on Tuesdays, 9 a.m. Central Time, and you can listen to those on podcast services around the World Wide Web, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and others. You can also watch video versions of each episode on YouTube and Twitch. Although I gotta say, you know, we're a weekly show. Sometimes things don't go to plan. I'm sorry, Twitch viewers. I am behind on episodes, and I apologize.
God.
I have not forgotten about you, and I'll make it up to you by streaming all those episodes. It's going to be an episode-heavy week. Sit tight. Strap yourselves in. But you can see a full list of all the places where you can listen to and or watch us on teamchatpodcast.com/where to listen. You can also find us on social media such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also have a Discord channel that you can join, or Discord server technically is the appropriate nomenclature, that you can join. We also have a Patreon page, and we're a completely listener-supported show, and you can head over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast to check it out, where if you're really loving what we're doing and creating for you each and every week, and if you really feel so moved, please support the show with $1 or more, and in return, we will give you a cool perk, such as getting the episodes early before their general Tuesday release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery. It's a lot of fun. We hope to see you there. But that concludes my introduction. Wrapped it up nicely. But before we get into the topic of today,
Indeed.
psych, before we move on to that, I told her to remind me about this.
Oh, you caught yourself because I was going to forget too.
Another note on the production side of things here. Like I've mentioned a couple times before, we did change our podcast hosting service from SoundCloud over to Fireside.fm recently. I kept both up and running at the same time just to make sure that everything, the transition went smoothly and all that stuff, and just to be sure that there weren't any like weird drops and plays, issues, anything like that. Well, that time has passed, and it's now time to draw a close to our hosting on SoundCloud. Now, what does this mean for everyone? Really, it should mean nothing. You should still be able to get each episode on a weekly basis from your podcast provider of choice, and you will still be able to listen to the episodes on SoundCloud. The only thing that's going to change is that when you're on a free account with SoundCloud, you can't have like this unlimited storage of tracks. Right. So basically, you're going to lose the backlog. I think we can have, with the monthly limits of space, we should be able to have somewhere between 3 to 5 of the last episodes up. But that's only, like I said, should only affect our SoundCloud listeners. And I do want to give a special shout out to our listener, Joseph Bradner, who's been commenting on our SoundCloud stuff lately, responded back, "We see you."
Sorry, Joseph.
We appreciate all of our SoundCloud listeners. But like I said, this will not stop you from being able to listen on the SoundCloud platform at all. You can still listen there and other podcast services around the web, like I said.
And the full backlog is up virtually everywhere.
You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
Yeah.
literally everywhere else. Just now that we're not using the main storage and hosting as SoundCloud, you're not going to be able to find that on SoundCloud anymore. But if anyone comes across any issues at all that we may have missed once we do finally close the curtain on SoundCloud, which will be happening this week, that you're listening to this episode, please let us know. Send us an email, teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. Comment, do whatever.
Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, all
you
the
can
things.
just be
let
like,
us know
at Team Chat,
so we can catch
yo,
that.
stuff's broke. And we'll
Exactly.
be like, oh, crap.
And we will fix it.
And
Because
we'll
we want
fix
you to
it.
get this lovely gaming goodness to you each and every week. Okay, now that's out of the way, that important business. Now we can talk about some news.
Indeed. So, couple of things. Just in case you missed it, this past weekend on March 1st, Dead or Alive 6 came out for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I know you did, because you were living the Dead or Alive in Bermuda.
I was.
Yeah. So you get a pass on that one.
Thank you.
And then I think it's really funny when naming stuff like this kind of happens at the same time, because Dead or Alive 6 is coming out March 1st, or came out March 1st, and then Left Alive is coming out as a, right?
And what's the difference here?
I don't, Left Alive, I guess, is a different game. I don't know what it is. I know what Dead or Alive
That'd be
is,
hilarious
but not Left
if
Alive.
Left Alive was also on its 6th iteration.
Oh gosh, maybe we should just recommend that to them. It's not too late to change it. Anyways, on March 5th, as of this episode's air date, Left Alive comes out for PS4 and PC. And then coming very soon on March 7th, we have Total War 3 Kingdoms for PC. On March 8th, Devil May Cry 5.
There it is. Oh man, already. That one kind
I
of
know.
snuck up on me.
Already, it is right on us, dude. PS4, Xbox One, and PC, again, that is Devil May Cry 5, March 8th. And also on March 8th, Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn comes out for the 3DS on March 8th as well. So I don't know what the difference is between Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn and Kirby's Epic Yarn. I wonder if it's a formal sequel.
Maybe it is.
I'll have to look it up after this.
Check
It's
it out.
almost like I should have done my job. But a couple of other quick things about mostly Nintendo news that you may have missed. Of course, Jared and I's schedules have been kind of crazy lately, so we haven't been able to work these things into the more recent past episodes. But
Right. Like I said, my trip to Bermuda, we had to pre-record for that
thanks
one.
a lot, dude.
I'm sorry. But sometimes you gotta disconnect from the
Sometimes
games.
just got a fun and son.
I know. And fun and sun I did.
So somebody that gets to have all of the fun and sun in the world that he rightfully deserves. A couple of weeks ago, Reggie Fils-Aimee, president of Nintendo North America, did announce his formal retirement.
It was surprising. I was actually
I
in Bermuda
had no idea.
when the news broke, and I immediately sent a message on our
know.
Discord. I was
It's
talking
like,
to Mogan. I was like, "What is this?"
What's happening?
Because even though, and this is what I was trying to write down, even though I haven't been the biggest Nintendo, I would even say fan, really. With buying the Switch, I've gotten more into the Nintendo world than I have even growing up and stuff like that. But even in the short amount of time that I would call myself like a big Nintendo fan lately, I've loved Reggie.
Dude, Reggie is everybody's like cool uncle.
Yeah.
Reggie's the best.
Yeah.
And it sucks that he's not going to be like
It really
the
does.
face of Nintendo North America anymore. If you get a little emotional. I'm just kidding.
But I loved, though, that even on Twitter and everything, I told Sam, I was just like, people are acting like he's dead. Like the amount of
the good news
outpouring
is
and,
he's not dead.
Yeah, he's definitely not dead.
He's just retiring.
And who knows? May not be the last time we see him in video games. But for now,
it
he's
probably
taking a step
is.
back.
He probably made more money than
Bukus.
Yeah, he's probably okay.
doing fine.
Okay. He's just going to be able to finally enjoy his own games on his own beach somewhere, having a peaceful and restful life. So, Reggie, God bless you.
God bless you.
You did so much for Nintendo and so much for North America specifically. We're going to miss you, but he is being replaced by a hilariously named man named Doug Bowser. And that's not a joke. This
The way that
guy's
the
name
stars
is
aligned
Doug
to make that
Bowser.
happen is incredible.
It's just magic.
It is magical.
It's the magic of Nintendo.
And I love that he's already seemingly jumping into the fun shoes that Reggie is leaving behind, because when he posted the picture of saying that, hey, I'm going to be the new president, they had Mario and Luigi plush toys tied up in the back.
I
It was
know.
great.
That was
I loved
really
that. That was a
funny.
nice touch.
I feel like Nintendo's public presence, especially through their higher ups, does always kind of skew to a bit more of like lighthearted humor than, say, any of the heads of Xbox, Sony.
Oh yeah, like Sean
mean,
Layden
have
from
you
Sony
ever-
and Phil, and all that. Phil Spencer from.
You mean Phil Spector? Noted
did I-
murderer?
did I say it the wrong one?
No,
Okay.
no, you said the right one. But in my head, it's always Phil Spector.
Right, and I know it's very, very confusing, but they seem to present themselves, and not saying Reggie doesn't, but like they do seem to be more like, we're business. We're here to talk
We're all
about the
about cool,
business,
cutting-edge
Whereas
stuff. We're here for
Reggie's making like
business.
funny videos where he's like, doesn't he get his face like melted off while I won by Bowser and did some other stuff like that? Like he does some funny stuff.
Oh,
It's
man.
fun to
Reggie's
see him
freaking
actually
hysterical.
having fun, and that's what
Yes.
made part of his tenureship as the head of Nintendo North America so great to be a part of.
My favorite GIF that I use all the time to indicate my impatience with things is that one of Reggie, like kind of doing some sort of weird dance, and he's like looking at his watch and he's like,
I think you've seen that. I've seen
Oh
you
my
use that
gosh,
one. I
that's
don't know
my
what it's
favorite
from, but
one.
I think I've seen it. Yeah.
I also don't remember what it's from at this point. I just love it, and I'm going to miss Reggie so much.
He helped usher in the age of crossplay between Xbox and Nintendo.
He did.
He did some great things. So
He's done more with his time than most others do with theirs, so
He's done
kudos
some
to
great
him.
things. We can list all of his accomplishments, but they're great and wonderful. And another one that kind of reminded me, is similarly veined, that I also remember because this news broke when I was in Bermuda too, that now it does seem that Xbox Game Pass is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch,
I
allowing
forgot
for
about
all the
that.
streaming capability games there to be played on the Switch. Which, whoa. Whoa.
That would be amazing.
Amazing.
Who knows? It might just be a rumor, but enough.
Because I haven't heard a lot on it since then. Like, there was the initial articles coming out saying that it's a rumor thing. Then I saw that French one that I shared to, that French article that I shared to our Discord that seemed to confirm that Cuphead and Ori and the Blind Forest were going to be two of the first games to come.
You can't trust the French.
There.
Just kidding.
I mean, that's why I ran it up there. I was like, maybe our Canadian friends, Ark and Kirok, could like help break down this news, translate the article for us.
I don't think they speak French.
I've never asked them, honestly, but I just assume they're Canadian, smarter than us, dual,
probably
bilingual. I mean,
I don't think no.
You don't think so?
I'll ask. Okay. I strongly don't think so. I've known Ark for a long time, and she's never spoken French to me. Oh gosh.
Maybe she's just waiting.
Maybe she's keeping secrets. Yeah. Let's hope not.
Let's hope not.
Anyways, I would feel very betrayed.
So that would be pretty sweet too.
So that would be pretty sweet. And then one more bit of Nintendo news, and this is more recent. So this past week, just in case you missed it, Nintendo did have a special Nintendo Direct just for Pokemon, because they did announce that the new Pokemon title is going to be coming out for the Switch this year, 2019. They didn't indicate exactly what quarter or approximately when it's going to be out. My best guess is holiday season.
I would imagine holiday.
I think it's probably going to come out mid-fall.
Because isn't that when Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee came out? That was also like November, late October?
Probably, something along those lines. Yeah. But that would make the most sense, I think, financially speaking. That's when I'm expecting it. The new game is going to be featuring the Galar region. I don't know how you want to say it. It's modeled after the United Kingdom, more or less.
Cool.
It looks like it's
That's an
very...
interesting switch.
I know, right? It looks like it's very inspired by the architecture of England, Scotland. So it's going to be kind of centered on that type of region in aesthetic, obviously, not in name. It's sort of like what they did with, I think it was Pokemon Black and White?
Okay.
That were featured on like a Parisian setting? Was that Black and White?
I'm honestly not sure. I'm not as familiar.
Oh, gosh.
My Pikachu Pokemon knowledge is not very
It wasn't
strong.
Sun and Moon. That was Hawaii. I think Black and White is supposed to be kind of like on a region that's Unova? I get them all confused.
You're talking...
I definitely played that game, and it looked like Paris. I don't remember which one it was.
I have French feelings while being here.
Yeah, sure, whatever. The point is, Twitter's exploding with hysterical Pokemon jokes from Scotland and Britain, ruthlessly making fun of themselves. It is fantastic, and the game looks gorgeous.
It does. I will say, I really love the art style that they went with this
it's fantastic. It's really just the evolution of how, I swear it was Black and White, of how Black and White and obviously Sun and Moon have looked, just kind of grown up. Obviously, it just has a little bit more processing power than the handhelds on the 3DS, so I'm looking forward to it. And the new starters are adorable.
They do look pretty cute.
So if I'm not mistaken, their names are Grookey, he's my favorite, he or she, let's not make assumptions here, is like the grass starter type. It looks like an adorable little monkey creature.
Yep.
Normally I hate monkeys. I don't know if you know that about me.
I do not know that
hate
about
them.
you.
But Grookey is okay. Yeah, hates monkeys. Write that down. The other one I think is Fire Bunny. I don't know what its name is.
The one's like the water that's like
Swoodle. Sad water creature. He looks sad. I don't remember what his name is. But anyways, the new starters are really cute. Somebody on our Discord did comment that they were like kind of bummed that they didn't switch it up with the starters, which, not gonna lie, that's something I literally never thought of.
Oh, really?
And now that someone has brought it up, I'm like, oh.
Yes, I agree.
That would be kind of nice.
Yeah.
Like if the starters weren't fire, water, and grass type.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Pokemon has had enough iterations by now that maybe they can afford to take some bigger risks. Maybe that would be pretty fun. Like, what if the starters were psychic, dark, and steel type? It would change the game quite a bit.
Forgive my ignorance, but they have usually always started with grass, water, and...
All starters are always grass, fire, and water type.
Okay.
Like, those are your only three options. Except, like, maybe a couple of weird side games where you got Pikachu.
But there are, like, other... Again, my ignorance of Pokemon is vast. But there are other types, not limited to those three. I told you, it's vast.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. What? There's so many.
There's
flying, rock, steel, electric, ground.
So just everything.
Fighting.
Okay.
So, and the joke is that all of the recent, not all, but a lot of the more recent past game starter types have almost invariably evolved to be like grass fighting, water fighting, firefighting, like dual types. There's fairy type now. You are so behind.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I am. But at this point, why even, my whole thing is like,
Ghost. There's ghost type.
I want to understand, but at this point, why even try?
What type would you have assumed Gengar was? Oh my God! Never mind.
Again,
wow.
if they appear in a Super Smash Brothers, I might know who they are.
Jesus.
I told you, it's vast. It's vast.
Moving right along. So the point is, Pokemon.
Sword and Shield.
Sword and Shield. I didn't even say the name. You're right. Pokemon Sword and Shield coming out 2019, based on a region that resembles the UK. Looks like it's going to be amazing. Hurrah!
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 Pokemon fans rejoice.
They are.
Now, we do have one last bit of news, because this is honestly one that we just could not ignore. I don't want to go super into it. I don't want to spend a lot more time on it, because I want to get into our main topic. But the timing of last week's episode...
Dude.
What even?
What even?
So, for those of you who don't know, or maybe first time listening to the show, last week we launched we did a soft launch kind of a brand new topic series that we wanted to start called Industry Spotlights, where we were going to highlight either companies or people from the gaming industry. You know, the eventual hope would be that we get some interviews and different stuff like that later on. But for this first one, we decided, we went off one of our patron suggestion, Riven. He suggested that we start and do one on THQ Nordic.
Thanks a lot, Riven.
Sounds great, because THQ Nordic, they do publish a lot of great games, a lot of fun ones, and they have a strong market niche where they're at. So we're like, this is perfect. We do the episode. The day the episode comes out, literally the day the episode comes out, THQ Nordic then decides it's a great idea to do an AMA on 8chan.
The real scandal here is that 8chan has been, I think, convicted of hosting.
Google will not. I was reading up on this. Google will not show their search. Show results
because it's been proven that they have or are still hosting, I think, child pornography.
Yeah,
and that's not okay.
Along with a plethora of other terrible things.
It's horrible. And the strangest thing to me about this is that why would THQ Nordic choose 8chan and not Reddit?
Right.
Reddit is arguably the more widely known and potentially less toxic and really common. It's super common for all types of companies to do Reddit AMAs.
People do Reddit AMAs.
Why
there's a whole
wouldn't you have chosen
Reddit?
It's just baffling.
It is.
And I don't know what went into that decision, but thanks for making us look like...
Because, I got to say, I was telling them before we started, like, in a backhanded way, we benefited because our episode got a lot of traffic.
Thanks a lot.
So, it worked out well for us in that regard, but also not necessarily the same news we wanted associated with this topic.
Yeah, it wasn't like good news.
Well, and the one thing too, it's not like we were necessarily coming out and being like Nordic is the greatest ever. Obviously, they're fallible. They make mistakes like everything else does. Yeah. And they chose that week to make a big boo-boo.
Yeah.
But obviously, since then, they've come out and apologized profusely. Their PR heads have been working, have been coming out trying to negate the situation. I think it's going to be, I don't know if any, and haven't really seen if any real damage has been done, other than obviously this is a pretty big tarnish on THQ Nordic's reputation. But, I think it's going to be one of those things that's going to be looked back on and laughed at, how dumb.
How dumb do you have to be?
Yeah. So,
all right, anyways.
We had to touch on that because the timing could not have aligned.
It's
more
inconveniently. Sometimes I feel like we talk about stuff, and then by us talking about it, we've somehow created world events.
Are the trendsetters.
Not even trendsetters. I think that we just accidentally speak magic into the world, and then crap happens, and we're like, well,
it's because we started playing Magic the Gathering. That's what it is. We've unlocked the dark arts within ourselves.
Dark arts of card games.
Yeah. Our parents were right to tell us to avoid those, or mine were at least.
Yeah, probably. All right. Anyways, that's
just kidding, Mom and Dad. I'm not listening to you. But here we go. We're going to jump into our main topic of today, which, like I said in last week's episode, we are going to do our first impressions of Anthem. Both of us have played the game.
Oh my gosh. And we both are enjoying it.
We both are.
I think quite a bit. And we're really excited about it.
Granted, again, this is our first impressions. We're going to not be giving a full definitive review everything of this game, and we won't even really probably touch on story stuff that much at all, and this is really going to be fairly spoiler free. We might say a few things at the very beginning of the game just to give some context to some points that we're talking about, but again, listen easy, dear friends. that we won't drop any too massive of a bombs.
I don't
Because, I mean,
think
like, we're not even that far into it
we haven't
yet.
even gotten
Again,
far
the game
enough
came
to
out
be-
when I was in Bermuda, so I was a little behind there. I'm a level 10. I wanted to at least get that
Yeah.
far because then I knew by then I could have unlocked 2 of the javelins. I could be... And it seems like a pretty good first benchmark to get to.
I'm level 13, by the way, guys. I'm doing way better than Jared, so...
So I gotta say though, obviously, Anthem, published by EA and Bioware, published by EA, developed by Bioware, and is the latest entry in what is known as kind of the loot shooter genre of games.
Loot shooter.
Honestly, a fairly...
I've never heard that before. Really?
Oh, yeah, it's
loot
kind of how you
shooter.
decide, like the Division, Destiny, Anthem now kind of fall into all this. I would assume not quite the same, but yeah, those are the big ones that I kind of think of in that
Okay, I gotcha.
self-proclaimed genre, I guess you could say.
Indeed.
But I'm honestly surprised, I got to say, that you're into it. I wouldn't have necessarily thought it was one that you would have been super excited about.
So here's the thing. We will get around to why I think I am liking it so much, and it's probably not what you're thinking.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an interesting parallel, and you're going to be like, huh, how about that?
Interesting. I kind of see where you might have a connection to it. So I'm interested to see if we line up on
We'll see about that. But first, let's give a little bit of
let's get some background into this
context about what the game is like. So the idea is that the game takes place in this world of its own called Bastion, if I'm not mistaken. And Bastion is...
Not to be confused with Super Giants.
Yes, not that Bastion.
Excellent game,
And
Bastion.
also not Hollow Bastion from...
Oh, I know this one.
You
I know this one.
I
We just
believe
talked
in you,
about Kingdom
dude.
Hearts.
Yes, I'm so proud of you. Not that Bastion either. So it's a different Bastion. How popular is the name Bastion now?
I understand it. It's a cool name. For
It's a cool name, but
sci-fi name.
So the point is, it takes place on this world called Bastion. The concept is, it's kind of a hybrid world of both human inhabitants and these weird alien inhabitants. There are a couple of different factions of humanity. Some of them are, I don't know what you'd call them, the normal guys. Your people.
Well, there's like the Sentinels who...
The Sentinels, there we go, yes.
But that's not like...
It's not, what I mean is like the difference between the Dominion, which is like this faction from the north that are like these conquerors. They're the bad guys, basically. And then there's you and your people who are like normal dudes.
The player, you're technically... The character you play as is technically called a freelancer.
Yes, but that's...
And then there are Sentinels, which is another
but in
like...
a broader context, there's like the Dominion and they're the bad guys, and then there's you and all of your people, which are a hodgepodge, melting pot of all kinds of different things.
And then there's like these other groups like the Scars, the Outlaws.
Yeah, the Scars are like these weird alien creatures that remind me of like those little scrubby dudes from Halo.
Yeah.
Right, I couldn't remember what they were called either.
Grunts. Just grunts.
Grunts.
Yeah,
Zach would
grunts.
kill us.
I know.
Let's not talk about it. But the idea is that this world, Bastion, has all of these leftover relics that are called Shaper relics. And I gather that the Shapers is kind of the term that they use for their gods.
Mm-hmm.
So the Shapers are supposedly this race that founded the world of Bastion. They're seemingly super intelligent because of all the crap they left behind.
Right.
And something that they left behind is called the Anthem of Creation. And that's kind of the key point of where all the story of Bastion is sort of centered around.
And where the game got its name.
And where the name
True facts.
game got its name. Shut up. Anyways, so the Anthem of Creation is this thing that nobody really understands. It is, in essence, the game describes it as a song. And when the anthem acts out, or like Shaper relics react to the anthem in an unexpected way, they sort of go haywire and they cause these things called cataclysms. So let's say that my phone is a Shaper relic, why not? And it hears the anthem too loudly, question mark, blah, yeah, that kind of stuff. It might go haywire and then the ground opens into a chasm and we all fall to our deaths.
But not only like it having a reaction in the physical sense, like the ground opening up, but it could also create and spawn creatures.
Yeah,
and it
sometimes
just seems like
it just drives the world crazy.
This untapped like energy source, basically, is what it seems.
Exactly. It's like uncontrollable energy that just does whatever it wants to in the world with no predictable factors.
Which I really like.
I do too.
From a story
yes,
aspect.
I do too. I really like the whole like lore of the Shapers. I was like, oh man, this is great.
Because
I love this kind of stuff.
Before we played the game, and we might have gotten a little bit of hands-on in the demos and everything for it, I always kind of had like, it seems there were parallels to Destiny, being like this, Fort Tarsus, your big main city, hub city, is kind of like this last outpost on this world of Bastion, which is similar to like the final city in Destiny and everything on Earth. And then you're protected by this unknown power source in Destiny, the Traveler. In this one, it's the Anthem of creation. But the one thing I like in the big parallel is that in Destiny, the Traveler came and automatically just had these good tidings, basically, that it brought to this world. And so everyone obviously sees it. Oh, the Traveler is a force for good that we must protect. I love that the Anthem has that ambiguity of, is it really something good? Or is it bad?
Probably a little of both.
It seems to have this little bit of both. And I like that it's just not this assumed thing that we look at and be like, this is good and we must protect it because of XYZ. We're protecting it more because we understand what could happen if it fell into, like, say, the hands of the Dominion, the evil
dudes.
Yeah.
Just the bad guys. That's just what the Dominion is. They're the bad guys.
And so, obviously they get a hold of it and are able to, fulfill their plans or whatever they want to do. Very bad things.
Classic evil guy stuff.
Exactly. So I like that it's kind of like this lesser of two evils thing almost that you're kind of faced with. So I really like that from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, I do too. So the idea of all of this is that the Anthem causes these Shaper relics to go haywire. The world is kind of in a constant state of semi-chaos, and the people that are there to mitigate all of this chaos are a couple of different factions of groups like Jarrett mentioned. So the primary one at the story's first outset, which is we get a bit of like a prequel kind of in the first part of the game that you play that is kind of your tutorial, and then the game flashes forward a couple of years after that. But in the beginning, there are these people called freelancers, and they're the people that pilot the javelins. So your big mechs, your like magical, crazy robot suit,
that you've
the javelins are
seen
freaking awesome. That you've seen
God,
from all of
so
the stuff. That's what freelancers do. So it's not just you, protagonist character. You're not the only freelancer. There's still freelancers out there, but in this world of 2 years into the future, after a bunch of crap goes down that we're not going to talk about, basically freelancers' reputation as saviors has been kind of tarnished. Mm-hmm. They've sort of fallen apart along the way. They're much more of a split, divided kind of faction.
Yep.
They don't have the public presence that they used to, and they're kind of trying to get back to that state. So all of these other groups, we've got Sentinels, they're kind of like, they're the cops.
They seem to be a little more like the organized armed forces of the...
Yeah, exactly.
Of Fort Tarsus.
They're the buzzkills. Yeah. They're no fun. Sentinels, boo.
They're stepping on the freelancers' fun.
Exactly. And then you've got the Arcanists, which are basically these kind of scientist types. Mm-hmm. So Arcanists, their entire thing is they're trying to figure out what the Shapers did, what Shaper relics do, what can we learn from them, how can we use them to our advantage, how can we use them to not die all the time. Right. That'd be great. So you've got freelancers, Arcanists, Sentinels, the Dominion to the north, and then these people called Regulators, which are just normal people kind of, but they're the Mafia.
Yeah.
They're your not necessarily good like or bad.
Bosses,
they're the crime bosses.
I mean, Mafia is a great description.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the final one would be the Ciphers, who are this race of people who, I guess you could call them the closest thing to mage-esque, basically, in this world, where they are the ones who they have the ability to tap into the Anthem song, basically. And
they're basically psychic.
Yeah, they can communicate with these relics, and they can tell when there are disturbances, and they basically act as like the freelancers' link.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're their link to basically what's going down.
Right.
So like the cipher is sort of in your head all the time and even through your comm link, and they talk to you. Mm-hmm. You protagonist, your cipher is named Owen.
Right.
And he's awesome.
Great character.
Oh my God, I love Owen.
I've already attached to him similar to how I did from another Bioware series to Varric Tethras. My good buddy Varric.
Yeah, your good pal Varric.
Owen's great. His writing is fantastic. His voice acting is fantastic.
He reminds me of Wheatley.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah,
because
right?
He sounded like, at first, I was kind of like, is that Stephen Merchant?
Yeah, I was like, Wheatley? What are you doing here?
And now, just because we're talking about it, Emma, you need to know
anyways, if you don't know, Wheatley is a robot from Portal 2, and he's the greatest character to exist of all time. And Owen reminds me of Wheatley, which makes him, by association, at least like 15th best character? I don't know. I'd have to rank him. Let's not do that. Let's save that for a future episode.
TJ Remini.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is. But anyways, you're doing a great job, Tej. So that's the concept. So freelancers are these people that pilot javelins to do all kinds of odd jobs. Hence the name freelancers. They escort people on missions as basically their security. Mm-hmm. They go out into the field and help find stuff for the Arcanists. They kill stuff. damn it, what pest control.
Yeah,
like
for
with the scars,
wildlife and
pest
different stuff
control.
like that.
Yep.
Yeah, scars.
So freelancers basically just pick up any odd job that other people can't or don't want to do. And that's kind of where you're at when the game starts. So, did you choose male or female protagonist?
I did go with a male protagonist.
Figures.
Although not
I'm just
necessarily.
kidding. I'm just
I
kidding.
thought about it, but then I was also like kind of, I don't know. I just kind of thought about it and I was like, I want to do this one.
Right on.
You know, because I was playing. I obviously do not care, and will play as either. I was just like, I have Cassandra in Assassin's Creed Odyssey right now, some other stuff like that.
Fair
so
enough.
I was like,
Fair
I'll
enough.
switch it up.
And it makes no difference at
right.
all. I mean, your
obviously,
character...
voice actor for your character is different.
So actually, the only way that the game even basically announces to you that you have the option to choose male or female, air quotes, is male voice or female voice. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
so it really is just the voice.
And then you do choose a
choose
look,
your face, kind
but that's
of.
it. Like you don't even have any character customization
Yeah, you
into
really
your face
don't.
because they obviously save all the character customization options for the javelins.
Which, thank God, because there are so many
oh my
options.
God.
So
it's,
you can...
it's almost overwhelming, but
Yeah.
it's so fun to play.
So you technically can choose what your character looks like, but it doesn't even matter because you can never see your character. You're in first-person perspective the whole time.
when you're out of your javelin
When
suit.
you're out of your javelin, and when you're in it, you're entirely covered by the magical robot suit.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which javelin did you pick?
So there are the 4 javelins. There are the Ranger, the Colossus, the Interceptor, and the Storm.
So I think the Ranger is the one that people saw the
That's
most
what you start
of.
off. That's what they've always kind of shown off because it's the most versatile of the javelins. In the open demos and everything, you do play as the Ranger for those missions that you've set up. You can then choose later to unlock other ones if you want. I think in the demo, in the game, you can't unlock anything until I believe level 2 lets you unlock level 8, 16, and then 20 something. I believe is when you can unlock all the javelins. Because when you start with an old javelin suit. That is a Ranger suit. And then you have the choice. Do you want to keep that javelin, unlock the Ranger one, or you can have your choice to unlock any of the other 4.
Right.
I unlocked Colossus first.
I did Interceptor.
Nice.
Yeah, the Interceptor is so freaking
The
cool.
Colossus is so freaking cool.
Oh my God, they're both really cool. So Colossus is the second one that I chose.
Okay.
Caveat?
I chose Ranger as my second.
Oh, you're so boring.
Because I wanted to play around it. I liked the Ranger suit. Like, I really did.
So what's funny is
I was playing with a lot of storms already.
Oh,
so
really?
I've played with a lot of storms.
I only get storms every now and then. I feel like I get a lot of Colossuses and a lot of Rangers.
Oh, really?
And a fair amount of Interceptors. I would actually say that maybe storms are the guys I see the least of.
Oh, really? Most of the
Maybe
time,
it's just
I'm
the way the
usually only
matchmaking is
Colossus.
done.
Maybe it is.
Yeah, usually there's only one Colossus, and then like me, and then a couple of Rangers. That's
Right.
almost always the makeup. But so the Colossus, as the name would imply, is essentially the tank.
Mm-hmm.
So the Colossus is this big robot, has a lot of shields, maybe more health, question mark?
He has more health. He doesn't have a rechargeable shield like the Ranger Javelin
okay.
does. And I don't know about Storm and Interceptor since I haven't played those classes. Does the Storm have a rechargeable shield?
I'm not the Storm, I'm the Interceptor,
Sorry,
so I
sorry,
don't know.
the Interceptor.
But the Interceptor,
My buddy Kyle plays as
the
the Storm.
shield does recharge, and something that's unique about the Interceptor is it's the fastest and most agile, right? The faster you are physically moving, the faster your shield recharges.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's really
so
cool.
it's like, man, if you need shields, run! Just make fast movements. Go somewhere.
So the Colossus doesn't have a rechargeable. He does have a rechargeable shield, but it's not like how the Ranger and the Interceptor and all that, where it's another bar above his health. It's a actual like physical shield.
Yeah,
he pulls
yeah, I've
out,
seen it, and I'm like, oh,
that
thank
can
God.
be damaged enough where it breaks finally. But it also allows you to have some really cool abilities. Like right now, one of the components you can add into your javelin to boost its abilities in the Forge, which is the Forge is just kind of the overall. Here's where you customize the appearance, your loadouts, choose your javelins, all that different stuff. I chose to have a component put in that boosts the damage done to my shield when I run into enemies while sprinting.
Oh, that's fun.
It's one that's like 300% base damage. So I can just I can just line up a group of like scars, just charge into them with my shield, and it just obliterates them.
That's gotta feel great.
It's so great.
Oh, that's really fun. So the Interceptor is, of course, not like a heavy hitter.
Right.
I'm not exactly charging in there with a shield. Interceptor is more like I'm going to kind of scuttle around the edges and like be in the air, and hopefully you're not going to be able to shoot me. And it has like these kind of blade arm thingies.
I was going to ask you what the melee.
Yeah, the melee is, first of all, I didn't think initially that I was going to use the melee a ton, but with the Interceptor, it's the best way to do it.
I use it so much with the Colossus.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I love that melee is so much of a mechanic. I feel like with loot shooters, as you have so wonderfully clued
I will say,
me in
I
on
did
the
not make
term.
up that term. I've heard it from other
But
people.
I feel like most of these types of games are much more heavily geared towards the weapons, towards
Yes.
using guns. And I feel like I rarely use mine, only when like I have to fight something in the air. And even then it's kind of optional, because if I can jump high enough, I can still kind of bat at them with my sword arms. Stop it. Get down from there. That kind of stuff. But the melee is turning out to be really fun.
Yeah.
I love just jumping in there, swiping around, and then running away, and they're all dead. And I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted.
And for me, as the Colossus, it's awesome because he doesn't have necessarily, other than his shield, he doesn't have a melee weapon. He basically just uses his fist and just like slams stuff, and it's
That's
awesome.
gotta be really fun.
I love seeing a big group flying at them at full speed and then hitting my melee, so I just like slam down to the
Bam.
earth, creating this massive shockwave. Oh, it's so good.
Dude, sometimes if I'm on a team with a Colossus and they kind of slam down next to me, it scares me because I think they're an enemy. And I'm like, ah.
Well, because they do similar in style to those big shielded Scar guys
Yeah,
that
and
come
they're
out.
just so loud. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, geez, you scared me, bro.
I know. What is one of your other like favorite aspects of your javelin? Like what one of his other abilities or whatever that you love?
So the Interceptor's key
Oh wait,
abilities.
we didn't go back. Did you choose male or female voice?
Female voice.
Okay.
Yes. It's a very standard female voice, and I was like, oh, it has like no personality.
Oh, see, that's interesting. I was going to say that I thought that the voice acting, because this one is different in the case that you're not a voiceless protagonist.
Yeah,
you do
that's
interact
true.
and talk, and I was surprised how much. Like I didn't feel like I enjoyed the emotion and inflections and all that stuff in the. Basically, your voice is really well done. I thought.
I mean, it's well done. I just feel like,
It's just generic because it has to apply to everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the most applicable type of voice and speaking style that can apply to the most people. So I don't hate it, obviously. I
Right.
think it's really well done. But I was like, aw, I'm not like, old. I just want to be an old lady in games.
be
Is that
Anna.
yes, is that so much to ask? I want to be an old, grizzled, battle-hardened woman. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. So
come.
the point is, with the Interceptor, I think probably the most fun thing about it is the movement. And this kind of applies in a broader concept to Anthem as a whole. The movement of Anthem is, for me, its most fun and key sticking point.
Yes.
So with the Interceptor, I think most of the other javelins only get a double jump, right? Like you can jump twice in the air. Interceptor gets triple jumps.
Ooh.
And then in addition to the triple jump, you have a triple dodge. So, when
That's
you hit
awesome.
circle, you can either dodge left or right or charge forward.
So the Colossus doesn't have a dodge. Circle pulls his shield.
What? Oh my gosh. So the Interceptor is all jumps, dodges, and basically fast flying and running. So like, let's say that I'm up against a Titan. Sure, why not? And it's getting a little bit too close to me. I have not a lot of shields, not a lot of health. If I take a bunch of hits, I'm going to die.
Right.
And I die a lot because I'm not very good at dodging it. But
Well, because because you are so fast, you're sacrificing a lot of health.
exactly. So the idea is that, well, let's say that Titan's getting too close to me. If I jump twice in the air real quick and then hold back and circle, I'll do a really fast backwards triple dodge. And then I've basically put a ton of ground between me and the things that can hurt me. It's also really great for dodging turret fire. It's great for dodging magic from like those weird magic wielding guys. I'm like, stop freezing me. I don't like that. But so the Interceptor's ability to move around very quickly, along with its really fun melee combos, and of course the weapons, they
Right.
are actually really intuitive and easy to use. It's turning out to be fantastically fun.
What probably your favorite weapon to use so far?
So my two favorite weapons actually have nothing to do with guns. They're my like alt weapons, like your L1 and
Your
R1.
support, your ordnance launcher, and your support.
Yeah, I think
gear
it's called
is
your
what they're
strike
called?
system.
Strike system.
Your
thank
strike
you.
system. I have both of mine to be themed around acid damage. So on the one arm, I have my venom bomb, which basically you shoot it and it's like a little homing missile that explodes into a cloud of acid. And then I also have my venom spray. So let's say that I'm up in the air, I can use my venom bomb to do some initial damage. I slam down with my melee, and then I use venom spray right in front of me. It kills 90% of enemies immediately. immediately, and
That's what
I don't
was
even
about
have
to
to
say. That sounds
touch
very
them.
similar to the Colossus's
It's
flamethrower.
really, yeah, I've seen the Colossuses using the flamethrower, and I'm like, I'll just run behind
my
you,
God.
dude. You do your thing.
The flamethrower?
It's really fun looking.
Oh my God. I was playing with my buddy Kyle and I was using the flamethrower. It was like my first time to use it. And I was like, this is so cool. Just like because it's not like it runs out of gas quickly.
doesn't?
It lasts for a long time.
Does it really?
So same thing. I can be using my shield charge ability, run into this huge group of dudes, smash them, and then just turn on my flamethrower and just start obliterating fools. And it is the best feeling.
That sounds awesome.
Not to mention the ultimate of the Colossus. Have you seen that be used?
No.
So
Tell
basically,
me, describe. I'm frequently confused in Anthem
There
by
is a lot
what's
going on.
happening around me.
I will say that.
So
There is a lot going on.
describe it, and I'll tell you if I think
if you
I've
saw it,
seen
you would know because it basically is like he drops 3 mini nukes, is what it seems.
Oh my gosh! Wait, maybe that's when I think I'm taking damage, but I'm not.
Because you use it. The launch animation is like this. HUD comes up this big yellow circle. Like you pull out this huge launcher, and you just. I usually use it. I fly up really high and then just like rain
Like
death.
a
It's so
bazooka.
great. Yeah, but it's
Cool.
basically the amount and size of the explosions and the damage reach is like it's a mini nuke, but you shoot 3 of them.
Oh my
It's
god,
the best.
that does sound really
It's just
cool.
boom, boom. Is oh my god.
Do you become semi-invincible when you use your ult?
You do recharge your shield and health. I've noticed.
That's interesting because have you ever seen the Interceptor do its ult?
I don't think so.
It looks like a wild dance of swords. It's
really?
fantastic.
Is it like just rushes in and does this
Yeah,
flurry
basically,
move?
like if you use your ult, it doesn't automatically do it for you, but it puts you into this like basically ult mode where you can't use any of your other weapons. All you can use is your melee, but it's super fast.
Okay, I have seen somebody
does a
use it.
ton of damage.
I thought it was just their normal melee.
No, and you can just keep going and going and going. And what's interesting about it, if I'm not mistaken, it makes you kind of invincible for the time that you're in it. Because
That would make sense, especially if it's a melee-based attack.
yeah, I mean, you take like no damage. So when I like run up to a Titan and use my ult, I've been using it both offensively for fun, but primarily defensively. When you're the Interceptor, using your ult is the top way to get out of danger.
Oh, nice.
Because like if you're surrounded and you use your ult, you gain back all of your health and shields, you're kind of invincible for a hot second, you kill a bunch of stuff, and then as the Interceptor, you run away and you're like, oh, thank God, I got out of there. And then you let a Colossus come in and do his thing, and you're like, yay.
Clean up, take damage
the
for a
cleanup
while.
crew.
Yeah. And so that's the one thing I really love. Obviously, the javelins and being the javelins is the core component, I would say, of this game.
Now, we haven't real quick mentioned the Storm and what it does. So just FYI, the Storm is basically the mage user of the javelins. It does
Elemental
fire damage,
basically.
ice damage. It can fly for longer than the others.
Right.
It hovers. So actually, it's a really fun person to have on your team in terms of setting up combos.
Yes.
Because if you've got a guy up in the sky freezing dudes on the ground and you're the Colossus or the Interceptor, it's the perfect setup to
And
just
I've got
go in
so
there.
many like freeze
Yes.
and
Oh my
fire
gosh.
combos.
It's fantastic.
Which that is one part that I haven't marked on my notes here as like a plus minus. Like I like it, and then but it's kind of a minus because I'm still trying to figure out how to make it work right.
You have to
because
make
apparently
sure
there's this super in-depth combo system in Anthem, and it's
Yes.
just very hard to figure out what launches them. And but when they do stick though, and so I still give it a plus.
it feels really
So
good.
good.
Oh, it feels so nice.
For example, flying around playing with some randoms and stuff, and we were fighting this group of outlaws, and there were like 10 of them in this area. The storm froze them all. Then I used my heavy mortar from my Colossus and just destroyed all of them in one
feels
blow.
great.
It was the best.
Yeah, it feels the best.
It was the best. I love it so much. And then the Ranger is, again, versatile, like good on ground, good on air. Its ult is really cool because it shoots out all these like tiny mini rockets that hit
does it?
everything. It's
I
a lot-
never
it's a lot
even
of cool
look
stuff.
at the Rangers. I count on them to revive me when I've died. And then I don't look at them.
Right. So the big thing too. So obviously this is a big one, and similar with other Bioware games, which are very RPG, it like have. So there's a lot of like class character creation and customization that carries over into Anthem as well. But it's all about in the paint and change up
It's
of
all
your of the
about
crafting
that
of your javelin.
style,
Yeah.
bro.
There
and
are
it's
tons of different
great.
materials and colors and vinyl stickers you can add to your javelins. You can really customize just about everything about them.
So-
I've made mine like these red, white, and black combo guys. Oh, they're they're pretty.
Quick thing that I do want to mention to anyone else that might be as stupid as me. It took me until yesterday, that is not a joke, to learn how to change my paint colors.
Okay, so it took me a while to figure that out too.
So here's the thing,
Again,
everybody.
another thing that's not super very clear that you can do it.
Pro tip, when you're looking, let's use this as an example, when you're looking at the screen and you go to like the Forge and it's got the customization thing, it'll have like a list and it'll be like primary soft, secondary soft, tertiary soft, and you'll notice on the left-hand side, it has the materials, which are metallic, fabric,
Rubber.
dirt, rubber. There we go. And then on the other side, on that right-hand side, it has the colors. Turns out you can click right and hover over that color, and then you click on it, and it pulls up an entire palette of colors.
It took me a long time.
And I did not know that for the longest time.
Kyle had to tell me how to do that because he's a little bit farther. I think he told me he's like a level 16 already, and he told me this, and I was just like, oh.
So for a while, for the longest time, I didn't even think it was an option. That was the thing. I figured that you got better gear
I did too.
that had different aesthetics. But then I saw a ton of other people that were the same level as me, and their outfits looked awesome. And I was like, wait, what are they doing differently that I'm not doing?
I went to the featured store, which is where the place that you can buy, because there are microtransactions in this game. They are limited though to purely cosmetic items, which is
really nice. EA's gotten in trouble before for that kind of stuff, so it's good to know that they've have hopefully learned their lesson.
So there is a store that you can, so same thing. I thought they were like buying different paint colors. They had to buy like shaders or something at the stores, whatever. But so that was a little confusing to me as well.
Yeah, it turns out you just have to click right a little bit.
Swipe right, you know?
So fun fact, that's how you change your colors and look super cool. Mine is I'm entirely like a white base with blue accents. I look really
I do want to make one with the team chat colors.
I think I'm going to switch it to pink though.
Ooh, yeah. That could be fun.
Yeah.
Like as the main, our producer's having some puppy dreams.
Oh my
Fender,
God, that's
wake
so
up.
cute.
Wake up. Oh, sorry to wake you up, buddy, but you were just dreaming.
He's fine. Barking in his sleep.
You're just dreaming. Go back to sleep.
Fender.
So let me think. We've hit a lot about the javelin stuff. Obviously, great. The flying is incredible.
So that's the thing we haven't talked about yet. That is fantastic.
It's so good, and I love how it starts off because you use your left stick to be. Again, we're playing on consoles, so you lose your left stick, and that's what activates your boost, and that can be used for sprinting. That can be used even in the air. But to fly to initiate the flying sequence, you basically have to jump or double jump using X.
You just have to be in the air,
right?
You don't even have to jump. You can fall off something,
right? But if you're just like walking on the ground, you have to X to jump, and then L click your left stick, and then you boost and take off flying. That simple thing has yet to get old.
I know. I'm not.
And it's something that happens all the time in the game. But every time you take off, it's the initial.
It feels so good. It's the best.
And again, shout out to the sound design. Not even again, like just the sound design of this game is great for that reason.
It really
the weapons
is.
sound great. All the flight mechanic sounds sound awesome. Everything just works and blends so well together.
So fun fact, when you do eventually when you get your third javelin, because you pick the Ranger as your second one, do the Interceptor.
I'm going to.
Because it's
so
fun. Because with the Interceptor, if you triple jump and then dodge forward 3 times in a row and then go into your boost, it's so fun because you get so much extra distance for nothing.
That's awesome.
Because the quick caveat, and this is something that I both like and don't like, is that the flying is amazing. Feels great, super fun, but it's not unlimited. So when you get into the air, your boosters do have basically a cooldown, I would want to say.
They can overheat.
Exactly, because basically if you're in the air for too long and you're relying on your boosters too heavily, without somehow cooling your suit down, it overheats. And if you overheat in the air, you just crash down into the ground. So the ways that you
can't take off for a little bit.
And then you can't take off for a hot second, which sucks. Mm-hmm. Like if you're trying to escape from a situation.
And if you're Colossus and it overheats, I've noticed it more with the Colossus than the Ranger. If you overheat, you'll slam into the ground and it takes you a second to like pick yourself up to be up ready to fight again.
Really? Interesting. So the reason that that's kind of a bummer is that it does suck that you can't go on forever and ever and ever, which would be really nice.
Right.
But of course, there are ways that you can help stay in the air longer. So let's say that you've already got a fair amount of altitude. If you go into a quick nosedive, it'll kind of do this whooshing air effect where it cools you down a little bit and then you level back out and you can fly a little bit farther. Or the environments of Anthem are really, really nice, lush, natural. So there are waterfalls everywhere, and there's water everywhere. And if you swipe yourself under a waterfall real quick, the water instantly cools you down.
Or just fly like really low over like a lake or a pond.
Yeah, it'll just give you like a
river.
little bit of a cool down, and then you can keep going, which is really nice. So it does. The reason that I don't like it is I want to stay in the air forever.
Agreed.
The reason that I do like it is it does make you more conscious of the environment, and so being in the air forever is both a plus and minus. There's no stuff in the air.
Right.
It pays to be on the ground, actually, because you're still really fast if you're the interceptor. But that's where all of the action is. So I can see why they wouldn't want you to have the unlimited ability to just fly around forever and ever.
Well, especially imagine if you were the interceptor or the storm in the air constantly. Oh my God. Like you'd be pretty OP.
You'd be pretty OP. Yeah. So I get why they did it, but it's still kind of like every time you come down to Earth, you're like, aw, but sky, want fly. in those exact words. So it's both a plus and a minus.
And the other thing, we've mentioned it before when we talked about from the demos and everything and old trailers and everything, and we just haven't played it as much in this environment in the game yet, but you can go underwater in your suit. Yes. And it's a seamless, just like dive into the water.
Yeah, it's really nice. And then you're just instantly a diver, dude. And it's like, oh, you do have an oxygen meter.
Right.
I have yet to have been in the water.
It's super long.
Yeah, it's really long.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, how would you even drown?
Exactly.
I'm going to have to do it on purpose just to see what happens.
You should.
Because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and unless you're playing later in like a water level that's like way under, which I'm assuming if the ability's there probably will be like a mission that takes place a lot of underwater.
Yeah. But you can't shoot underwater?
Never had to try, actually.
I don't think you can.
You might not be able to. Oh, but then also when you're flying around and say you hit your left trigger to aim down sights, you will pause and hover in air.
Yes.
And then you can hit left stick again
is so nice.
and take off. It just feels, it's so, they nailed that mechanic.
They really did. And the hover is especially helpful for if you're like me and you're constantly not looking where you're going and then you realize you're lost and you're like, oops, gotta hover and take a quick look around.
Yeah.
I forget where I'm going and where I am. So the mechanics are just fantastic. They feel really intuitive. You can get the hang of it very quickly, and there's really not much negative that I can say about it in terms of the mechanics.
Mechanic that hangs me up so far is I'm not the biggest fan of having to hold square to switch weapons.
Oh yeah, that is
that one does trip me up a little bit, but not bad. That would be the only one that like I kind of like.
And it's very minor.
Yeah.
I use the gun so rarely, you see.
I do switch because like I mean a lot of time like I'm the Colossus, I'm using like autocannons a lot or bigger machine guns that have big magazines anyway. So usually when I do have to switch, it is like, oh, I'm out of bullets completely. I'm in a tight situation. Sometimes I either just hit so it starts the reloading animation, and just, again, not a huge complaint, just the only thing that sometimes sticks.
Yeah, gotcha. Of the guns that I use, I'm a big fan of like the little mini what are they called? Like basically the pistols.
Oh, okay.
The ones that like shoot really fast.
Oh, machine pistols.
Yeah,
stuff.
Machine pistol. That's the term I was looking for. I like the machine pistols and I think the like more assault rifle kind of thing. I just recently took up attempting to use the sniper rifles.
I want to get into those.
Really like it so far, but their magazine capacity is so small. You run out of ammo every 5 seconds.
Oh, interesting.
And it's or at least with the one I'm using, which is actually my one and only epic level weapon.
Ooh,
yeah, I finally got a blue weapon, and I was like,
I haven't gotten any yet.
It's a sniper. I guess I'll have to use it.
Very cool.
So it's really nice.
So we've talked a lot about the mechanics and all those things. There's obviously a lot of this game that we haven't had a chance to really dive into yet, especially with you can do a lot of diving with your javelins.
Whoa.
But, because there are obviously the main missions, there are side missions, but then there are these other world activities you can do. You can choose to do free play, which basically you just fly around in the world of Bastion, get to explore, do whatever you want. I had some fun with that. And that's where I've actually come up against Titans, has been in that, which Titans are nasty boys.
And free play is really nice because this Anthem is like an entirely online game.
Right.
So there are some modes where you can choose to play privately, but in free play, that's not an option. However, even though in theory there are other people in your map when you're in free play, You have no incentive to interact with them. You don't have to. You usually don't want to.
Unless you're really probably trying to tackle like a world event that pops up.
Yeah, they'll leave you alone. You leave them alone. You can just go derp around and do your own thing.
And so another part of this that I wanted to touch on, one of the other play modes, and another note is that there is no player versus player.
Yeah, no, it's just player versus environment.
And
PvE.
so there is then this other area that you can play in called Strongholds. And I've only messed around with one slightly in the demo, and Mogan has played through one. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this one, on the Strongholds and everything. But still, though, like, what is your experience with that? The closest that I can compare those two, they are very similar to Destiny's Strikes, or they're just these harder, more, or maybe even a raid.
I was going to say, I think the term that most people would associate that type of play with would be a raid.
Okay. So what do you break down for us with Strongholds?
Strongholds, I've only played the one, and it was hard, man. I was like, oh my God, this is really hard. So just like with all of the other non-free play missions, you're on a team of 4. So in matchmaking, it'll just pair you with 3 other people. They can be of any of the other javelin types. So sometimes you wind up with multiples of one. Sometimes you get it perfectly even, and everybody's just one of the javelins. But essentially, Strongholds pits you and your other 3 people against a key point of contention. In the case of the one Stronghold that I played, which is the very first one, so I don't feel like it's a big spoiler, at the end of it, you come up against this giant insect monster. Ooh. And it's a really interesting battle. It's the closest thing to a boss battle that I've come up against in Anthem so far, and it actually was like a big to-do.
Right.
That thing had a ton of health and did a ton of damage. I died so many times, like every 5 seconds I was dead, and I was like, wow,
had to get revived and all this.
I'm really bad at this game. I still helped a little, but I felt like for the most part I was kind of hurting the team because I was dead so much. I was like, sorry.
So how long did it take you and your team to beat the Stronghold?
I would say the Stronghold mission probably took us between 20, I wasn't really counting, maybe 20 to 30 minutes.
Oh.
More realistically, potentially 45 though. I don't really know how long it took me.
Because like and when I've played like Destiny, like the raids before in Destiny, those were multi-hour ordeals.
Oh God, no. That was not, or at least this one. This one was not like that, but it is, like I said, the starter Stronghold mission. Right. So they might get to where they're multi-hour campaigns like that, which in those cases, I could see how you would want to be on comms.
Oh,
I feel like Strongholds is the mode of the game where you want to have an actual team.
That's why I really haven't done one yet, because I wanted to wait until I could play with you.
You don't want to play with me. We will die.
Nah, it'll be fine, because we'll all have
really
mics.
Bad.
We'll be good. We'll be good.
And I'll be like, Jared, excuse me, over here, down again. Please. Come revive me.
Use my big old Colossus shield, set up and revive. It's gonna be fine.
I mean, sometimes it's kind of not worth it to go and revive your teammates instantly, though.
Oh yeah.
Because when you go to revive somebody, obviously the more people in one area, the more the enemies come to that area, and then you're both dead. And it's
see, this is where you need my Colossus, because I can use my battle cry ability, which pulls all enemies to me.
You did that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Why? I battle cry, they all come running to me, and then I run right into them with my shield and do massive, insane amounts of damage.
That's fun. That's a fun effect.
It's so good!
I like that.
So that's pretty much a good overall of what the game we've experienced. Obviously, there's a lot that we haven't yet. Like there's in-game stuff that we haven't got to yet, and that's why we're not calling this a final review. And the end game is typically where, for me, these games start to fail. This is where Destiny, Division, all those things kind of started to fall short. So So again, we're very excited about the game right now.
Because we're having still a great in the early game.
A great time with it. Yeah, but we are very much in the early game. It'll be interesting to see how, and this is why we need to come back to do the final review on this, so that we know, okay, we spent time in the end game. How do we feel about it now? So now, though, to kind of wrap this up and to bring it all into conclusion here, like I said at the beginning, I was surprised you liked this game.
So here's the thing.
Why? What hooked you on this one?
Whether they are more or less similar or not, Anthem, in terms of how I'm viewing it, is like Monster Hunter World.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
exactly
okay,
like that.
cool.
So the whole thing that I like about it is that it's a very convenient game. Boot it up, do 1 to 2 missions, no pressure, no stress, and then you just quit. It's not like other types of games where you have to be super reliant on other people. It helps to have a couple of your friends in game with you just for fun, but it
I
has
played a couple missions by myself.
But it has a lot of ability to just pop in, do your thing, pop back out, super fun. Everybody's having a good time.
Well, and again, like I said, with why I've had so much problem with Division and Destiny before is because raids were this multi-hour. I'm sorry, I don't have time.
We don't have that kind of time.
I've tried, and it is the moments when I could set aside the time to even do a raid in Destiny was. It literally never happened because
Few
I
and far
literally
between.
played none of the raids.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
I know I'm missing out a ton on the gameplay of Destiny, but it was just I just never felt like I had the time to commit to that.
Yep.
But
And
this game, I do feel like I have the time.
Yes. So I can see how. So I haven't looked too much into it because I don't want things spoiled for me. But some of the initial reviews that I did see about Anthem, the cons of the game more or less amounted to some people feel that the story in the late game winds up being kind of weak. We wouldn't know because we're not there yet. The other thing being that people find it too samey. So when you're doing the various types of missions, they do kind of follow a similar pattern.
Yeah.
Which I think is why it helps to branch out every now and then and do free play and then strongholds and then the main story
Maybe do
missions.
some side missions.
But the thing is, that's not a con to me because that's the mechanic that feels very much like Monster Hunter World.
That's never really bothered me that much either. Now, I will say though that in the end game when you're having to replay those missions because you're grinding for gear,
that could
might
get
change
annoying.
my opinion later.
Yeah.
But for now, it hasn't really because I think I'm still just so in love with the mechanics of
Right.
it. Like I don't notice because I'm still figuring out new ways to.
We're so charmed.
I know,
we're so enchanted.
Exactly. And that's really how I feel like it is. So maybe a little bit of blindness to that right now. The only other really big con I have, other than like I said, is the small, very minor annoyance of having to hold square to switch weapons. The load times, they are a little heavy, especially on load up.
That's laughable from Monster Hunter World. Like I saw
they
that.
insane?
I saw somebody complaining about that, and I was like, "Ha! You sweet summer child!
But, like, they're
you don't
big,
even
but-
know what load times are.
They seem bad, but they're not terrible.
They're really not.
They're like granted, yeah, there are a couple times I'm like, man, especially on load up of the game, I'm like, man, this is taking a bit. But I haven't really in trying to jump around between missions and all the other stuff. The only other one that slightly is annoying, only because from other Bioware games, I'm used to being able to just hit pause and go to a menu. It is slightly annoying that you have to go, but I also understand it from the design choice of this is a completely online game, so it's very similar to why they've said they haven't had a photo mode in the game yet because how can you just pause?
Yeah,
But-
exactly.
So that you have to go and load into the forge every time you want to make a
Yes.
change. But again, I feel like it's for a very similar reason. You have to pretty much pause the game at that
Yeah,
point.
kind of.
And so I understand it. A little annoying though but I usually just save it till after every time I finish an expedition
I
or
do
a mission.
too.
I just go to the forge then.
Exactly.
Use salvage out old gear that I'm not going to use, upgrade, craft, do a little bit of crafting and everything like that. So
Right.
it's I feel like it's not a huge thing that's really stunting my gameplay.
Indeed, I would agree. So
So we're enjoying the game
we both enjoy it.
a lot.
Anthem.
For right now.
Thumbs.
Do with that what you
Current
will.
thumbs up.
But like I said, we'll come back, we'll do a full review, and I'm sure we'll touch on it and talk about it more in future episodes. But before we go, we do have to do our soundtrack spotlight, which obviously you're like, guys, we know you love soundtracks. You haven't talked about the music of Anthem yet. I mean, we have before, but not in this episode. And so we're talking about Anthem again, the music of Anthem again, composed by Sarah Schachner.
It's really good.
It's a fantastic
It's
soundtrack.
a really good soundtrack.
I wound up actually buying the Legion of Dawn edition of the game. Not because it came with some extra armor and stuff like that, but because it came with the soundtrack. And I was like, I'm going to buy the soundtrack anyway. I'm just going to kick a little bit extra here and get the soundtrack. But it is it's very atmospheric that I love. But also the one thing, and the biggest thing, because it stood out so clearly to me, and not one that you hear in a lot of soundtracks or in music in general, the didgeridoo.
Yeah,
I
right?
love the didgeridoo in the soundtrack. It sounds so good. And it's such
like,
a fun.
what is happening here?
It's great because the music equally fits. I mean, the music amazingly fits into this sci-fi yet natural.
I thought you were going to say
atmosphere.
because the game is full of giant scorpions and spiders. And it's like, oh yeah, just like
I mean,
Australia.
it is like we're playing in Australia. True. I had not made that connection. But no, I do love that. Like, it's very much, this game feels very much a technological and biological game because it is very much this, like, these mech warriors fighting giant monsters kind of thing. And I feel like the soundtrack very well mirrors that.
In terms of the world of Bastion, I do really like what they've done. So just quick to close us out while you're pulling up the song. The RPG elements in terms of being able to talk to NPCs and have a lot of interesting conversations and build relationships, that's also something that I'm having a lot of fun with just in Fort Tarsus.
Oh, yeah.
When you're not in missions, you're just derping around talking to people. I'll go down to the bar, see what everybody's up to. Even that's a lot of fun for me. So overall, I would say that I am really enjoying the game so far.
Very nice, very nice. So the track that we're going to pick is First Flight. Again, it's by Sarah Schachner from Anthem. But we hope that you've enjoyed our first impressions of Anthem, the game. We've got a ton left still that we have to discover and a ton more that we have to play, but we are still enjoying that our time that we've had it in it so far. We'll let you know, though, if that changes. But until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined by Rachel Mogan.
Adios.
Thank you for sticking around for this episode of Team Chat Podcast. Come back next week for another great new episode on another fun gaming topic. But until then, we'll see you all next time. Stick around for the song.